party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 28 of the Ball Talk Pod. We haven't talked to you since the end of the regular season, so we're going to get into our initial thoughts on the playoffs, how seeding played out, Thunder's potential matchups, and who we want coming out of the play-in, along with giving out some of our own end-of-season awards for the Thunder players. But there's only one place we can start this podcast, Chris, and it's News of the Week, and there's only one place.
News of the Week.
One storyline that honestly conquered all of sports this weekend. Do you want to let the people know what it is?
Jaden Ott is coming to OU in this period of the transfer portal. So congrats to OU for getting another dynamic running back. Hats off to Jim Nagy. Finally, something we can be proud of down in Norman. It's football season. I was arguing with somebody at a wedding this weekend, telling them to just believe in OU football. Life's too short not to believe. Why would you go around not believing in something? Just believe. Just believe. That's what I'm trying to get people to just believe. Have some faith. It's been good in Norman. Why can't it be good again?
You can't win in season if you don't win the off season.
I love it. I've never heard that before, but that sounds great.
That's a Ball Talk original. That's a
Ball Talk original. You heard it from Ben's mouth to your balls.
The main thing that I wanted to touch on, though, Chris, I don't know if you meant that sarcastically or not.
That's not what you wanted to talk about.
Shout out to OU. They are doing work in the portal, and they just beat OSU in Bedlam baseball. So it is a good week for the Oklahoma
Things are
Sooners.
looking up for the Sooners.
Chris, we got to talk about Rory McIlroy. Completes the Grand Slam of golf this weekend with a playoff victory over Justin Rose at Augusta.
For the people, can you explain what the Grand Slam of golf is?
The Grand Slam of golf.
Thunder fans listening. Maybe they're not golf fans.
Yeah, we have a diverse listener base.
Maybe that one person in New Zealand doesn't know what the Grand Slam of golf is.
In Perth.
That's
or our new friends in DC.
Right.
My Wizards buddies in DC now. The Grand Slam of golf is when you win each of the four majors, is what they call them. They're the four biggest events of the year. And those majors are obviously the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the British Open. And Rory McIlroy became the sixth person all time to complete the career Grand Slam. First to do it since Tiger. It's been this was his 11th attempt to complete the Grand Slam. Going back to 2014 was the last time that he won his third major. Right. And the craziest thing was he probably should have won his Masters back in 2011. He had a 4-shot lead going into Sunday and shot an 80. So he's had several close calls. He's had several, and I don't even want to say close calls, like he might not ever win again moments. But he'd been playing well going into this year. He had won at the Players, won at Pebble Beach, I believe, for the Pro-Am. 5 top 10s, I think, going into this weekend. And there wasn't really anyone else that was just absolutely dominating. Like last year, you were like, Scotty's going to win it.
Right.
Like it's just so obvious. This year, honestly, like not to the same extent probably, because Scotty, we haven't seen him have like the meltdown that Rory's career has had at points, but it felt like it was Rory's to lose. He's the first first Masters winner to have 4 double bogeys in a weekend.
Right.
Had 2 on Thursday and 2 on Sunday.
They were terrible on Sunday. The one that he hit in the water was just like, oh, what! It was. I thought that was the nail in the coffin.
It was honestly so cool to see. I was flying back from our buddy Breek's wedding in Columbus while that was going on. And so it was the only time in my life I've been okay with the 3-hour flight because the Masters was on the whole time. And I just it was like the first time in a while watching a golf tournament. It felt as exciting as watching like a playoff basketball game or a college football game. Like it was like every shot was like, I can't miss it.
100%. It was the best golf tournament we've watched since Tiger's Masters win.
In 2019.
I would even put like Phil's like U.S. Open win up there as good as
PGA.
this one felt.
He's
PGA.
That's the thing. Phil's one short of the career Grand Slam, and that it is
Open.
the U.S. Open. And there are like a couple of people, mainly like I think like Ben Hogan and maybe a few others, Gene Saracen or what I'd have to look up the exact name. They've completed the Grand Slam in a year, which is the most impressive thing to do. The career Grand Slam is you win them sporadically across multiple years. And if you recall, there was something called they call it the Tiger Slam, where he was the reigning champ at all four, but he won the last two of the first year and the first two of the second year. But for them to only have 6 players that have done this, it's pretty dang cool.
It's pretty
the emotions
impressive.
he let out on that 18th green in the playoffs. I mean, it was just like it almost was like the perfect way for Rory to win because he's had all these close calls and these blow-ups that just. I mean, he was the face of the PGA Tour versus the Live stuff that's been going on the last couple of years. And almost honestly was kind of the sacrificial lamb for the PGA Tour as they've tried to now bring those guys back.
Yes.
And so to see him battle the roller coaster of the round is just an exact parallelism to his career. I wish Justin Rose hadn't lost. I think he's a super good dude. And I
such a consummate professional after that loss. That interview you gave was awesome.
Yeah.
He's just like that has to be like the worst feeling in the world to be that close. And I don't know if you know this, Ben, but the last time there was a playoff at Augusta was 2017. And
who was in that playoff?
Justin Rose lost to Sergio Garcia. So
that's one that I'm like, I really wish Justin Rose would have won that one.
Yeah. So he's lost 2 playoff holes in a row. He lost the first one every time. It wasn't like he had a shot. He lost the first one every time. So I feel bad for the guy. He's such a good dude too. Really, I think he'll get one. I'm not sure how old he is, but
he's 44.
You never know with the Masters. He's getting
to the end. That's the sad part.
Yeah, he's been there twice, and it's just like
he has won a major at least.
Yeah,
he won a U.S. Open, but
he may never have that opportunity again. So,
bummer for him. Super cool for Rory. It's great for golf. Great for golf.
Well, especially with like what was it? The PFL or no, the PF
TGL.
No.
The Player Performance Fund, the PPF or whatever.
Yeah, that's trying to like join the Live and the PGA. What's that called?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, well, that fell through earlier this month, so it's nice to see the PGA come out and win. And so I like to think that the Live players always kind of fail because there's been a couple Live players that have led majors in the past, 3 years or whatever.
We've had 2 Live players win majors.
Right. But it always feels like they flail around on Sunday
because they only play 3 rounds.
I know what I'm saying. The Live. I wonder if it has anything to do with like they don't have to concentrate for 4 days anymore. They can just concentrate for 3. But that's a side note. But Rory's win, the emotion he let out, the relief he must feel to have finally done it, to have that monkey off his back. I kind of expect him to go on and just win a bunch more tournaments this year. Maybe pick up a major or 2 more.
I don't think it's crazy. And like the craziest thing that could happen, obviously, if he won the Grand Slam this year. But like when you look at how he's playing, how everyone else is playing, where the different tournaments are and how they align with his game, they're all like lined up that he can be very successful at each tournament. I mean, the British Open this year is in Ireland, where he's from.
I mean, to win the Masters and then get another Open championship in the same year, he would would you retire? That'd be the best year of your career.
I don't know. I mean, I think you could just coast, but I think the biggest thing is now that he has this off his back, he can play free and I mean, just go for it. There's no pressure anymore. He had all the pressure in the world on him.
And it's sort of like a proof to those like live haters to be like, the best golf is being played in the PGA, and it's led by the guy who's been talking the most shit about the live golf tournament, and he won the Masters this year. So
yeah,
but I also do want to talk about what sports does for like a community. I don't know. So like you, I was flying home from Columbus, but my flight was at 7 p.m. So Eastern time was about around the end of, or no, it was around 8, but it was around the end of the Masters. And everywhere I went that day, me and my wife, thank goodness she was with me. She was such a great golf watcher. She got into it just as much as I did. She loved Rory. She really wanted Rory to win. At the end of the night, she was like, I really would have hated myself if I watched golf all day and then Rory had not won. I was like, yeah, that's just sort of sports in general. But the way that sports can bring people together, because we were sitting in the the airport eating at the PGA restaurant, and we were all sitting there, and everyone was just kind of talking to the table next to him, and it felt like you were in like a live event because everyone was cheering and moaning. You could hear like the crowd kind of surge as he missed that last putt to go into the overtime. It was just really cool to see everybody come together and like appreciate the moment that was there. And it's just fun to see what sports can do. Golf in particular in this case.
For sure.
Which I think will happen in the playoffs in Oklahoma City as well.
It's already happening, man. It's a good segue into Thunder basketball here. I mean, I went downtown today, and they already have all the banners up. They were putting the like cargo bins out at Scissortail for the Thunder in the Park thing that they do.
Right. Yeah.
And like, there's just a buzz. Like we don't play till Sunday, and everybody's kind of like, "Hey, I gotta wear my Thunder gear all week. Like the time is now," and I agree. So since we last talked to you, moving into playoff seeding, we've had some pretty crazy games happen to get these playoffs set as they are. Specifically on Sunday when the Masters was going on, the Clippers and Warriors played an overtime game that sent the Warriors to the play-in, which they are currently playing against Memphis, and lock the Clippers into the 5 seed. So, Chris, how about we go? Do you want to start off with just breaking down 1 through 8 or 1 through 10, how we like how it played out, and then we can get into the play-in?
Well, it'd be yeah, that's fine.
It?
No, 1 through 8's good.
Okay. So
obviously,
I love that the Thunder are 1. I'll say.
Yeah, there's not much to say about that. I think we can. Maybe we should talk about the play-in since we're talking about the Thunder as well. At least talk about the potentials. That way we can kind of talk about where the Thunder sit.
Okay. So the play-in, which is currently happening, at least the 7-8 games are happening. The Eastern Conference game just wrapped up, and the Grizzlies and Warriors are currently playing as we are recording this. The Warriors and Grizzlies are playing tonight in the 7-8 game in Golden State, with the Warriors being the 7 seed. The winner of that game will advance to play the Houston Rockets, with the loser playing the winner of the 9-10 game, which is Sacramento hosting the Mavs, is the 9-10 matchup. I don't know about you, but I mean, even with Golden State up 5 right now, I just kind of think they're going to win tonight. Memphis has really fallen off. Golden State at least is at home. I don't think they would lose 2 straight, basically like almost play-in games. Like, because their Sunday game was so important to the playoffs. I don't think they'd lose back-to-back in Memphis. I mean, this is like a foreshadowing to our later conversation. They don't scare me too much.
No, I don't think they do.
So they also just have like the older veteran players that have been through it. They still have Draymond and Steph. Jimmy Butler adds a dimension for them. And he's a playoff riser, which is something we'll talk about a lot over the next couple weeks. So yeah, I in terms of just discussion of tonight, I would anticipate the Warriors moving on to face the Houston Rockets in the 2-7 matchup.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the 9-10 game? It's weird. That game almost like it's very relevant for the Thunder, but those two teams, like this is the year where it almost feels like the Western Conference didn't need the play-in.
Yeah, I'd agree. it feels like the 7 and 8 game decides who the 7th and the 8th seed are going to be. Like if the Warriors lose tonight, I fully expect them to go win the 9-10 or the.
I'd expect them to blow them out.
I expect them, to win by 20 and then play the Thunder in the 8th seed. If the Grizzlies lose tonight, I expect them to do the same thing. The Kings and the Mavs are just so weird, and especially with like the Mavs being so injury prone, I kind of expect the Kings to win that one, and then the Kings to lose to the Grizzlies is my thoughts. But
you have the Kings being the Mavs, you said?
Yeah, but if Anthony Davis goes off for 40 points, I don't think the Kings can do anything about it. Like, who's going to guard Anthony Davis? Are you going to have Sabonis guarding a 4?
Jonas Valanciunas, baby.
Okay, well that
solidifies your point.
I think they lose that. I Anthony Davis has to go off and be really good, and then their role players again have to act like they're playing the Thunder and hit.
PJ Washington has to go for 50, or something,
pretty much.
But yeah,
so I imagine the Kings win that.
I think for this exercise, even after saying all that, I think it's very safe to assume that the seeding holds true. The Warriors advance to play the Rockets, and then the Thunder would then be playing the Grizzlies. We're going to say all this. We'll find out Friday night, which is when the 8 seed is decided. This all could be irrelevant by then with how the NBA is, and there tends to be a few surprises here and there. But it feels pretty safe to say, at least for this exercise, we'll have seeding hold true and go Warriors 7, Grizzlies 8.
Sure,
so,
I like that.
For that matchup, I guess, I mean, we'll just like touch on the 1-8 matchup if it is Memphis. The Thunder are 3-0 against Memphis this year. It's a series that never felt overly close. I know, obviously, I mean, I feel like with the Thunder and almost any team you play, there's stipulations with who was healthy, who was at the game. Ja didn't play, I know, in at least one of them, but like I guarantee you that we didn't have Chet and or Hartenstein in some of those. And so it's kind of weird to take that, but just with how they're playing, they fired their head coach, which was the winningest coach in Memphis history, like a week before, 2 weeks? He was before Denver's head coach.
Which is,
But which we'll touch on that in the next series. But it just feels like in that series, the Thunder take care of business. It's a 4 or 5 game series.
I don't
totally
even think
that's
agree.
bias.
No, I think, I mean, just the way the Thunder played them so well, they are. Maybe I read a stat and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but at one point they were like the number 1 ISO offense in the NBA. And to me, that filters in directly to what the Thunder want. They don't want you to be past
ball movement is not.
For as good as this defense is, the corners are left open a lot. And that's why you see a lot of corner threes last season from the Mavs. You see a lot of corner threes when we played the Lakers. Guys who can pass the ball to the corners are sort of like the kryptonite for this defense. And I'm not saying a guy like that can just totally dismantle us. There are different things that the Thunder are trying and, figuring out. There will be adjustments. But a team that plays super ISO ball and Ja's going to try to break someone down for 40 points or even do a pick and roll. I even think like pick and roll is too ISO for this team. To beat this Thunder team, you need to be passing the ball a lot.
And you have to shoot it exceptionally well
at a high clip, 100%. And I don't think they are necessarily the greatest shooters.
No, I don't think so either.
I agree with you. I think it goes. I would say it's a sweep, a gentleman's sweep.
They might get one in Memphis. Would be like you would hope worst case scenario. And even before we go on to the next, backtracking just a little bit, if the Kings are if Warriors go on and win this game and the Kings and Mavs somehow get out of it, I would have the same prediction with any of them. As long as it's not the Warriors, I don't have a problem. And Chris and I were talking about this before we got on. The Warriors seem scarier than they are just because of the names of their players and how historically great they've been. It's not something that I think holds weight in the playoffs. It does to an extent, but not to the extent that I think that they could go in and beat Oklahoma City in a 7-game series.
I don't think the Thunder were able to keep Luka Doncic and
talking Mavs.
Kyrie Irving under their season average for a lot of that series last year. They were able to really hold them in check. And the role players stepped up in a big way and won that series for Dallas, right?
For sure.
I don't know if the Mavs have that this year, if we hold Anthony Davis down, or even Golden State. I don't think Golden State, if you can shut down Curry and limit him to his 3-point opportunities and get in his face and be really physical like Dort is, or even Cason Wallace is physical enough, I don't know that their role players are going to overpower the Thunder.
If you recall, the Thunder, one of the weirder Thunder games that they lost this year, one of only 14 losses. One of them was Golden State on a Wednesday night, and Shea dropped 50 in that game. And it was because like Kevin Looney hit like a step back elbow jumper, and like just so many shots went in from players that are not your stars that were like, this is a one-off. Like even more so than the Mavs series last year. Like it was like, Kevin Looney is not going to do this ever again, probably.
And and Chet wasn't back.
No.
You feel better about Chet being back. So
yeah, I Golden State if we play them, I could see it going 6, but I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't matter and they go on to win and it's Houston's problem. But moving on to the 4-5 seed matchup, you have, surprisingly, I guess, in terms of when you think about the beginning of the season, the Nuggets as the 4 seed hosting the 5 seed Clippers. Chris, who do you like in that matchup?
I think this is the toughest. Obviously, it's the 4-5, so it's like the two teams that are most evenly matched by like standings. I feel that way through like 2 through 8 in the West. I feel like those teams are all pretty similar and can win a series against one another. Jokic has to be really spectacular. We'll have to see what they do with Westbrook. With this new coach,
Jamal Murray's been hurt.
Jamal Murray's been hurt, and we've seen without Jamal Murray, the Nuggets just haven't been able to get over the hump. We'll see if their defense is better. I know that's something Jokic is really concerned about. I think the way the Clippers play and drag you in the mud and make it a really punchy game, they're jabbing you all the time. They're really physical.
And they have the wall.
And don't forget about the wall. The fans and for the Clippers are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I think I have it going 7 and falling either way. I think it's going to be a really, really good series, really tough series for the Nuggets and the Clippers, because I think Jokic, has that ability to have a 60-point triple-double or whatever and outscore it. But I think scoring is going to be at a premium. And if Jamal Murray isn't able to go or isn't at 100% healthy, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring series, and I think that plays in the Clippers' favors.
It's a good flavor of basketball for the Clippers.
It's a good flavor of basketball. It's like pistachio for the Clippers. So I think it's a tough series. I think it goes like 7, and the Clippers come out in a low-scoring series, but in a high-scoring series, the Nuggets come out. What about you?
If this was if you had told me this was the matchup like a month or 2 ago, I'd be like, Nuggets are going to cakewalk, whatever. I've never thought highly of the Clippers, but then recently, as well they've been playing, they went into Golden State, obviously to clinch the seed to stay out of the play-in. Kawhi is playing probably the best he's played since 2019 when they won the championship in Toronto. The question is, playoff basketball, playoff minutes, can he survive a 7-game series? And if he's the best player on the court, or honestly, if he's the second best player on the court, then I think it swings to the Clippers. I think Jokic is obviously the favorite, but I just don't know who on Denver is going to step up and help combat against. Harden's been playing exceptional basketball. He dropped 37 and 10 in Golden State on Sunday to win that game.
But who's guarding him at Golden State? You have Derek Jones Jr. who can guard him.
The defensive player of the year, supposedly.
I think Derek Jones Jr. does a lot better job on. He's on. Never mind. He's on the Clippers. Forget I said anything. He probably does a really good job guarding James Harden in practice.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm not sure. Maybe put Aaron Gordon on him and try to like beat him with size.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's so interesting. One, because whoever comes out of that series is hopefully, if everything goes right for the Thunder, that's who the
Tired and
Thunder
beat
would
up.
play. You hope it goes 7. If you had to pick one to play out of those two, who would you more want to go against in the second round if the Thunder are lucky to advance?
Honestly, for me it depends on who's playing. Like you said, who's playing for each team.
Let's
Like,
say
if
both are healthy.
both are healthy. So Jamal Murray is playing really well, and Kawhi is healthy and playing. Like those are the two like big what ifs, right?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather play the Clippers.
I agree.
I think they don't have quite as big of a home court advantage. I think the Nuggets fans are pretty good, and they're loud. They get up for their team, have a taste of winning. I think the Clippers are they're really physical, which translates to the playoffs in my opinion. But I think after a while they're old and they're gonna crumble.
I think the biggest thing is I would pick the Thunder to advance against either of these teams. But the thing that I'd be looking most towards is that I just think how we guard. It fits way more into how you put Dort on Harden, you can put Kaysen or Dub on Kawhi. You have Chet and Hardenstein. I don't know if you would go double big in those matchups. That would be an interesting strategy piece for the Thunder. I just like the idea of not having to play Jokic.
No, I think you're right. Like we talked about, if you have like a pass heavy offense like the Nuggets do, it hurts the Thunder more. But if you're like very one-on-one,
and the last time we played them, they shot the lights out of Paycom. Lights out. So it takes they'd have to do that 4 games. Again, I'd pick the Thunder over either of these teams, probably in 6-ish. But yeah, I think I would rather play the Clippers, but bring on either of them. That's how I view it. The next West matchup, which I think is probably the most intriguing series to me in the first round. And it's one of those ones where I could see it going 5 and I could see it going 7, depending on how each team's playing. And it's
if it goes 5, who do you see winning?
The Lakers.
If it goes 7, do you see both teams can win?
Yeah.
Or is it still the Lakers?
I think the 7. Wolves are pretty underrated just because, maybe not to Thunder fans. We split the series with them. But them being the 6th seed, they've had they had a really bad start. I think it was 18 games in, they were sub 500. And since that time, they have the 5th best record in basketball. And so it's if they had kept that the whole season, then we might be talking about Minnesota a little differently. They just have been playing well. Obviously, ESPN, they do a thing with their riders where they have 10 riders pick each series, and Nuggets Clippers was kind of split. If I remember correctly, Lakers Timberwolves was 100% Lakers.
Really?
Every single rider picked the Lakers.
Scared of the Lakers. I'm glad they're on the other side of the bracket, but
for sure. If I had to pick right now, they're coming out of that side of the bracket, and that's probably who we're playing in the Western Conference Finals if we advance there. And I'd even go as far to say as whoever wins this series is probably who we're going to play. The Lakers or Timberwolves.
Interesting.
Just because I just think, one, you have Luka and LeBron, 2 playoff risers. As the playoffs come on, they turn it up. The chess matches of the Lakers aren't really that big. They don't have a center. They have positional size, but they don't have a true 7-footer outside of somehow Jackson Hayes. But the Timberwolves have Rudy Gobert, who it's kind of crazy. It's almost been a 180 for him, where he was so overrated for so long that now he's almost underrated. If you're using him properly. Now they do have a new coach. No. I'm getting that back. That's the Nuggets. If they lose, they might get a new coach. I don't know. But Naz Reid, big guy who can shoot. Anthony Edwards, he can go off in a playoff series. And then they have Jaden McDaniels, who's one of the better wing defenders, followed by Shea's cousin, Nickel Alexander-Walker, who's not as good as Jaden McDaniels, but like of that same mold. So they have guys they can throw. They have guys they can throw at them. And so I just think, we'll see how good of a coach JJ Redick is. He's so far looked pretty dang good for his first year, but we'll see how he handles the playoffs as a head coach. And Chris Finch got to the Western Conference Finals last year with this team, obviously minus Cat this year. But I just think that's so intriguing, and it's going to be a series that I'm going to sit down and watch every game, just because I think it's going to be very, very entertaining basketball. If you had to pick, who are you picking in that series?
I mean, I think I picked the Lakers. I don't think you can pick against Luka and LeBron at this juncture.
I would almost argue it's not even LeBron at this point. I think it's so hard to pick against Luka in the playoffs. LeBron's lost in the playoffs. And at 40 years, like if this was LeBron and AD's team,
you'd pick against the Lakers.
You'd pick against the Lakers. But Luka just adds that dimension of, hey,
fuck you attitude.
He can, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm with you. I would pick the Lakers, but I think that series is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm trying to get myself to agree with you, but I'm finding it hard. I don't think it's going to go 7. I think it's going to go
5 or 7. Like I think it's going to be quick. Basically, if Minnesota can steal a game or two, like it steals game 1 or game 2, they have to win one of those. If they go down 2-0 to Minnesota, that thing's over.
Yeah. Going back to
Minnesota 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So that's why I lean Lakers for sure, but I think it's going to be a very entertaining 4 to 7 basketball games.
Right.
So lastly, last series we'll talk about on the West side. You have the Rockets going against the potential 7th seed, which for this we said the Golden State Warriors, who are currently up double digits on Memphis.
Good.
This is a series. This will be a series that when you go and look at like predictions before by every writer, every ESPN show, First Take, I think most people are going to pick the Warriors.
I'd agree with you.
Just because, like as we mentioned, they have an older generation that has done it before. Guys that have won in the playoffs, carried teams through a playoff. They're all older. Again, it comes back to kind of what we said about the Clippers. Like Jimmy Butler got hurt against the Clippers in the Sunday game. He's back, but he got kneed in the thigh and was noticeably limping at the end of that game. But can he withstand a 7-game series?
He's
the
another
Rockets are very underrated in my opinion. But I don't know if they have the offensive horses to go win a series, which is why I think you would pick the Golden State Warriors a lot if you're dissecting this game.
I think it's a lot like the 4-5 matchup where if there's a lot of points, it's probably going to be the Warriors. If it's a high scoring series, it's probably going to be the Warriors because I think Steph just is that way, and I think that would be great for the NBA. They'd love that because then you have the Lakers and Warriors in the second round, and that would get a lot of eyeballs. But I just think Amen Thompson is going to be like the number one. He'll
get Steph's assignment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's going to be the key to the series for the Rockets. He's their best defender by far. Will guard Steph, and has to have like a pretty impressive offensive series for them to come out of here. I think. Don't you think?
I mean,
he's an important piece.
You would have to have Fred VanVleet, have a couple 30-point games in that series. Sengun would have to outplay Draymond, which isn't as crazy as it might sound. But I mean, they just have a lot. Like Tari Eason's an athletic freak. You mentioned Amen Thompson. They have Dylan Brooks. Like they have the Warriors and Rockets do not like each other. Like this would be a very entertaining series.
Yeah.
And so it all depends on who handles their emotions better. It's hard not to err with Steph Curry in a situation like that, especially for the Rockets, who this is their first playoff appearance in several years.
I would even say, like with the head coaches they have, you'd err on the side of Steve Kerr when it comes to handling emotions.
That's true. I mean, Udoka, when he was back with the Celtics, he took the Celtics to the finals. They lost to the Warriors in that finals, but he seems to be a bit of a hothead too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. That'll be again. All of these Western Conference series are going to be ones that you're going to want to turn into, and I think all could go longer than expected. Most won't. There always seems to be like you hype it up because you want a great series going into it, and then a team wins the first three and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
You either go in 4 or 5. With that Rockets Warriors series, the Lakers Timberwolves series, honestly, Nuggets Clippers too. Like I just think that it's all intriguing basketball. The West is very deep. I don't think they're as top heavy as people thought they'd be at the beginning of the year, which is one of the reasons why the Thunder set the record for the biggest gap between a 1 and a 2 seed in the NBA. At 16
games.
Which the Celtics set the record last year at 14.
Mm-hmm.
And
what did they do, Ben?
They won the championship. So it's super exciting. It's like we've talked about it a couple times. It's like this team had nothing left to prove. Get them to the playoffs because that's where it really matters. We'll see what carries over.
We seem to be healthy. No lingering injuries.
We didn't predict it. Are you going the Warriors over Rockets? If that's the series?
Honestly, I like the Rockets. I think the Rockets. Honestly, from that side of the bracket, I'd like to see the Rockets. Because, like you said,
out of those 4 teams, if we played them in the Western Conference Finals, you mean?
Yeah. I think with Chet back, we can put a lid on Alperen Sengun. And they just don't, unless Fred VanVleet goes off for 35 a game. I don't see them really having the offensive firepower. But I think the Rockets beat Golden State. I think Golden State's a lot of talk, but we'll see. I mean, they've done it before in the past, and that carries a lot of weight with a lot of people. So we'll have to see.
I agree. I don't disagree with that. I mean,
who do you predict?
I mean, I said a lot of people would be picking the Warriors. I think it'd be hard not to pick them. But like I said before, I just think the Rockets are underrated with the athletes that they have. It takes Sengun. The last time I watched a Warriors-Rockets game, he like kind of got into Draymond and made him look bad.
Yeah.
And so if he can play well, which he has been, he was an all-star this year. We haven't even talked about Jalen Green. If he can get hot, I mean, they just have a lot of good players. I mean, the question with the Rockets is, do they have the player? Do they have a Shea? Do they have a Steph? Do they have a Luka or LeBron? A Jokic? You know, I don't know if that player's on Houston currently, which is why, again, like I think your reasoning in terms of wanting them on the other side of the Western Conference Finals, it would be a highly contested series, but they don't have like a guy that I would be afraid of in the last 4 minutes of a game 7 with the winner going to the finals of he's just going to take over.
Well, the guy that you would be afraid of, the guy who like has that streaky scoring ability is Jalen Green, but he's on the bench to finish most of those like closely contested games.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's again, it's one of those things too. It's like I like Warren Thunder fans of like hoping for the easiest path. And not to say that it would belittle the championship if the Thunder were lucky enough to win it, but you also kind of want to be tested. And you also just want to like, it's in the NBA, you're going to get to the point now where you're not playing bad teams. Like the worst team the Thunder is going to play is the 8th seed. And then after that, it's going to be a team you should expect a 6-game series most of the time.
A team that could have been the 2 seed for the rest of the series.
Yeah. And so again, you want to be tested. Obviously, you need the ball to bounce your way in a lot of these situations. You need some injury luck, which is why being able to rest everyone the last couple weeks, because the Thunder will have a full week off between their last game and their first playoff game, and they were able to sit most people for the last 2 or 3 games of the season. But Chris, we didn't talk about this before, and we'll dive more into this, I think. But before we get into the awards that we have, what is the biggest X factor for you this year in the playoffs? And like an individual player or an individual skill by a player? All the above. What are you saying? If X happens, the Thunder are hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy in June, or at least getting to the finals.
I think there's going to be a lot of points in the playoffs. I don't think this is like groundbreaking by any means. That there is a need for energy, and I think a pivotal player is Alex Caruso, who's going to come in and offer not only energy but the right kind of energy. There's a wrong kind of energy you can add to a group, whether it's like you just go out there and foul a bunch, you go out there and just go act crazy. Alex Caruso, a guy who's done it, can offer the right energy, and I think he really motivates the team to get on the right foot and to have the right energy when times get tough. So I think he's going to be. I'd like to see that play out as a way for us to get to the finals.
Well, not only that, I mean, it was crazy some of the conversations we were having about Caruso when we first traded for him because he wasn't shooting well.
Mm-hmm.
He felt off, and then all of a sudden, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's played his best basketball of the season, which shockingly enough was probably the plan all along.
Yeah.
Presti and Mark were like, hey, Alex, like, and was very like upfront with him. And Alex was probably on board because he understands that he's had some injury issues. He's like, hey, I know where I'm at in the league. He got his extension whenever that came in December. You acquired him to basically take Josh Giddey's minutes in the playoffs from last year. And obviously it's not the full allotment of those minutes. You sprinkle in the development of Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, Case and Wallace.
Took a big leap this year.
Huge leap. So you have multiple people to fill what Giddey was last year, but it is specifically Alex Caruso that you went out and said, I mean, you literally swapped them. Like you traded them for each other. So I think he's had the championship experience. They've talked about how he brought his championship ring into the locker room to show him like, hey, this is our end goal. And they've all talked about how like it holds a lot of weight in that locker room that he's the only one that's won a championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. You definitely can't go wrong with that pick. I think if I had to pick, I don't know if it's an individual player, and this might be a cop-out answer. It's shooting by the people not.
Yeah, 100%.
It's people not named Shea. And I would even throw like Dub and Chet. Like they have to shoot well. You have to have like, I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't think Dub and Chet are like one of them is a for sure second option. They're going to kind of take turns. I would like it to be Dub because Dub, it's a little easier for him to go generate his own shot. Chet's more of like a complimentary piece right now, especially with, I still don't think he's like just completely back from his injury to what he was before he got hurt. He's obviously a huge plus for the team, but he like, you can go back and watch the last game before he was healthy. He dropped like 29 and 11 with 5 threes against Houston, his last full healthy game before the hip injury, where he was like, they were like, he's winning defensive player of the year. He's going to the All-Star game. Like it was like, he was very obviously the second best player on the team. And then obviously stuff happens. But I think, I don't know if it's an individual player like a PJ Washington last year, because I don't think it was just PJ. It just he was the face of it, at least for the Thunder fans.
Yeah.
Derrick Jones Jr. shot well. They had Dante Exum hit timely threes. It's you have to have Isaiah Joe go hit 5 threes in a playoff game. You have to have Aaron Wiggins drop 20 off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have Case and Wallace go get 13, 5, and 5 and just impact the game from everywhere with 4 steals. Shea can go win you 2 or 3 games in a playoff series, but to get over the hump and get through June as the champion, it's taken everybody else. And like that was the big thing last year. And I'm sick and tired of ESPN and everyone talking about how, well, Shea's not going to get his whistle in these playoffs. Like he's not ready. And I was like, watch the Mavs game. Watch any Mavs game. He was the best player on that court the whole time. It wasn't on free throws. That game 4 in Dallas, outside of obviously the bummer of losing the series, the greatest thing that came from last year's playoff run was that game 4 where the Thunder should not have won that game. You're down 8-10, what felt like the whole time. And then Shea at the end said, get on, boys. Like we're going back to Oklahoma City for game 5, 2-2.
Yeah, it was. We watched that together at your house.
We didn't say a word. We were so nervous.
God, was that frustrating. but it turned out really well. So, I think you're right. I think shooting is like the number one answer. Like I
it
think
feels like a cop out. It feels like a cop out to say, but
I think you're totally
it's that
right.
important.
100%.
And if I had to pick, I'd almost go Wiggins in terms of the player that I'd want to have like a PJ Washington series or two, just because I think Isaiah Joe is incredibly important in terms of spacing the floor, and he's developed even further past shooting threes and things like that. He can get to the rim a little bit, shoot the mid-range. The shot making that Aaron Wiggins has shown this year in terms of getting to the rim, he does that little turnaround fadeaway shot in the paint, him in transition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's been a huge leap. It's been massive. He scored over 40 in a game this year. It just feels like if for Wiggins' career, and obviously he just signed his extension, so he's locked in. If he can go have a playoff series that wins it's like you can't, like, how are you supposed to guard Shea and that and
Right.
I mean, Wiggins is my pick for it to be that person, but I mean, it could be Caruso, Case, and Joe. I mean, any of those guys, but it just feels like Wiggins is in the best position to make that happen.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, we'll get into some more playoff talk as we finally get the matchup later this week and into next. But before we walk out of here tonight, or I guess turn off the computers,
roll out of here.
Actually, Chris, I didn't even tell you this. Our buddy Ryan gave me this idea probably 2 or 3 months ago as like a season wrap-up pod, where we're going to give you our Thunder Awards for the 24-25 season. And we're going to give the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, the Most Improved Player, and then we're also going to throw in a biggest surprise player or whatever. We'll see when we get there. Where the conversation takes us.
No.
Starting off, Chris, is it anyone other than Shea for MVP?
Now, here's the thing.
It's a boring answer.
I took him off my list. Shea's not on my list for any of these awards.
Okay, I like that thinking.
Because I was like, he's going to win
I'd give
MVP of the
him
league.
all of them to him.
He could win Most Improved Player. He could win MVP. I think
he'll be on Defensive Player of the Year.
The biggest surprise is his defense. How far that's come. So like I threw him out of here.
Fair.
And then because I think Lou Dort's also going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He is not my Defensive Player of the Year. That's just foreshadowing. So I'll talk. My MVP, and we can talk through these, but like is Isaiah Hartenstein. I think
interesting. Okay.
We were playing, we won 7 games in a row, and then Chet gets hurt. I know it wasn't that game, but Chet get hurt, and then we go on this run where we win with the small lineup, and we win a few games with the small lineup, but then we get to it and we lose 2 games in a row with Jalen Williams as our center. The moment that he came on the court, and the moment that he started passing behind his back where he fell down and threw it to Aaron Wiggins for a 3. Those moments that he had to then kick off that 16-game win streak.
I'll never forget that Portland game. That Portland
impactful.
Game he came back for was incredible.
100%. And so he immediately raised the floor of that team where he would control offense when we could not get a shot. You could get him the ball. He could find you an open guy, or he could hit that little runner. Super important. And then it was even further shown when we lost that game to the Timberwolves, and we were up 20 or 30 or whatever it was, and they came back and beat us. It felt like if we had Isaiah Hartenstein still in that game. Well,
because he played the first 3 quarters of that game.
That's what I'm saying. Like if we still had him, we could have.
We don't lose that game.
Hold on. We don't lose that game, right? And maybe we still do, and we're talking about this totally differently, but it feels like with Isaiah Hartenstein in that game, we win that game. And that's just kind of the feeling I have with him over the season. So that's why I'm giving him my MVP.
I think that's fair. And I think he's going to be very critical in the playoffs in the non-Shea minutes and in the Shea minutes with how he's able, especially if teams go zone or some kind of box and one on Shea, having him out there to generate offense for others is something we did not have last year, regardless
100%.
of his size and rebounding. It's not just
then you
Dub.
talk about the rebounding. Him being on the other side of that rebound with, to rebound in non-Chet minutes feels super valuable. And if that's not the MVP, I don't know who is besides Shea.
That's fair. Just for the sake of the exercise and taking the actual MVP of the league out of it, which I agree with your take. Smart. Good podcasting, Chris. The MVP for me, I think, is Dub. It's Dub to me. And I like, again, you're sitting here and your selections, there are several good ones. What Dub did this year, obviously there were some ups and downs, but the downs were never as bad as anyone thought they were. He made an all-star team. What he did in those games after Chet got hurt and before Hartenstein came back, where he was playing the center, he's playing some of his best basketball then. He's the reason we were able to stay afloat and win that before we got a 7-footer back. I don't think he necessarily took a giant leap compared to last year, but I think he steadily progressed on what he did. He guards all 5 positions. He can shoot. I mean, his last couple weeks that he's played since he came back from that hip injury against Denver, I think he missed 7 games. He came back for the last couple weeks. He was playing lights out. He played great against Phoenix last week. What he's been able to do outside of, I wouldn't say the Shea minutes. There were times where it wasn't all great. But his versatility in terms of guarding 1 through 5 and then also being able to generate offense, I think he plays great next to Hartenstein. And I think we talked about, I think he plays better next to Chet, which is crazy because I think he plays really well off of Hartenstein too. And I think he's a giant X factor in the playoffs.
I agree.
Which is a whole other
point. We talked about it earlier, yeah. I think you're right. I think his versatility, especially on the defensive end, he guarded LeBron James earlier in the season. He guarded Alperen Sengun. All these things. He's guarding 1 through 5, and he's very efficient at it.
There's not one that I'm if we have to put him on a 5 or if we have to put him on a point guard. It's no, I feel comfortable putting on all of those guys.
Remember that stat where he was 4th in the league at a field goal percentage against? He was he had the lowest field goal percentage against for a while.
6'6" guard.
Right. It was just he's a good defender, and his offense has really come along. Especially after the All-Star break, it's felt like he's really taken a big step into controlling the game and creating his own shot.
He might be the player that's career is impacted the most by how these playoffs go. Especially at least into next year and until he gets another opportunity, because people already are writing him off as a second option. If he can go out and win a game for the Thunder, hit a big shot, score 30 in an elimination game or something like that, it changes how people talk about Dub in the same way that they talked about Jaylen Brown in Boston last year.
100%.
And so who was someone who they were like, you can't win a championship with him as your second option until you did, which is what it is for everybody. So I'm very excited to see how he plays in the playoffs, and I think we'll be able to turn him loose a little bit more in terms of his impact on guarding and the intensity on the defensive end. So there's your MVPs. We'll go ahead and move on to DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you have, Christopher?
Well, I'll let you go first this time.
Okay.
We'll see if it's the same one.
I'm going to take Dort out as well because Dort is the low-hanging fruit. He's far and away the best defender on this team, especially one-on-one. He's the best on-ball defender in the league.
I'd say so.
I also think I'm going to take out the 2 bigs because they didn't play a lot. Just for my mental logic.
Okay.
Because they're both insane. I think. And I'm going to take Dub out too because of what I just said about his MVP. But I just think Kaysen, with what he does, Alex Caruso said his nickname is now Allstate because he's got great hands. You're in good hands. what he's able to do in terms of, and it's almost like the context of the team where he's the second and third best perimeter defender, almost magnifies how, like, because he's able to not have to guard Steph all the time or Luka. The energy that he brings every night. He was top 10 in the league in steals as a second-year player.
100%.
Which he feels so much older than a second-year player, which is crazy. And I remember when we drafted him, it was like another guard.
Yeah.
Like I think we were in Scottsdale together watching that draft, and it was like,
well, guard.
like that's fine. I trust Presty, but like I thought we would need a big, which we did. We just didn't know it was going to be Hartenstein.
Yeah.
But I just, like, he can, like Caruso even said, he blocks jumpers more than anyone he's ever seen. And he's 6'4", but he's sneaky athletic, not
long
sneaky athletic,
arms.
but his long arms.
Long bounce. They say he's the bounciest guy on the team.
And I think part of my quote unquote vote on this is that I just love watching him play defense.
And I have him selected as defense player of the year too. We're aligned in this because the way he like takes over games, like he'll get two or three. Like, what game was it that it was really close and then he got like 2 steals and it was like over?
Yeah, I can't remember which game, but yeah,
and there was just like 2 steals in a row where he just like picked this guy's pocket and then intercepted the pass and then yammed it. It's like his ability to like block shots, like you said, and just like swipe the ball away from people. He did it to Trae Young. He did it to I can't think of his name.
Which team?
Dallas. Kyrie Irving. He's done it to Kyrie. He's blocked a 3 from Luka. I think I love watching him like get low and like swipe at the ball a bunch. He's
so nonchalant about it until all of a sudden he steals it, goes and dunks. He lets out a roar, and I'm like, oh hell yeah,
yeah, 100%.
But he's the guy that I'm like most intrigued in how he fits in the next 5 years, because I think if he was on any other team, he'd be talked about as like a future all-star.
Mm-hmm.
But because of his opportunity in Oklahoma City, and I think he's the personality that he's fine with it because he loves winning and he loves who he's with. Which I have no intel on that. That's just a hope. But yeah, Cason Wallace is your 2025 Defensive Player of the Year for the Thunder. Context, asterisk, Dort not included.
And next, Ben took out a bunch of other players for some reason.
But I still took him. I think I still would have taken him. But it goes to show like how impactful everyone is on the defensive end. Mm-hmm. Because I could have, if you have told me to hey, I'm picking Cason, you have to pick somebody else. I could have picked 4 other guys and they would have had logic behind it.
Right.
But next we're rolling into the Rookie of the Year, which I feel like there's only one answer, and he didn't even play half the year.
Oh, okay.
But it's AJ Mitchell.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, to start the year, if you would have told me that we would have found out that AJ Mitchell was going to get a turf toe injury where he misses 8 to 10 games in early January, and it would have been, I mean, for a team that won 68, there's, maybe not to the full extent of this word, but like detrimental to the cause, because there was we've talked a little bit about how when Shea's off the court, there was a bit of something wrong with the offense generated by the second unit. It didn't flow as well. But then you threw in AJ Mitchell, who was a 37th overall pick, who we should have known the Thunder loved because they traded up twice for him. They traded into the second round, then traded up, and then traded up again to go get AJ Mitchell. When he came in and you had Dub with a second ball handler next to him, that was when those offenses were the best, when Shea was off the court.
100%.
And he got hurt in that Knicks game, which was a bummer. Just landed on somebody's foot wrong. Turf toe, had surgery. He came back, thankfully, and that was probably the only exciting thing of the last couple games, outside of Jay Will getting a triple-double and Wiggins scoring all the points. But I just think it's so surprising. The Thunder's two-way contract pipeline to the NBA is so rich, and he's the next iteration of that. I wish he hadn't gotten hurt because I don't think we're going to see him a lot in the playoffs. I mean, I think we'll see him just because Mark is Mark. But I'm so curious to see how, give him an offseason, get him back healthy. How does he look next year with this year's, first round pick, Nikola Topic, coming back next year off of injury. So is it AJ Mitchell for you, or do you have any other
My
picks?
rookie of the year is Topic, because I think, hear me out. I think that this season has been looking like as a win now opportunity, right? We are thinking win now. It's been a stressful season because, we know how good this team is. They won 68 games. Now we're going to the playoffs, and, every game is going to be intensified and stressful. He offers hope. He offers, sort of like this mystery for Thunder fans to think about and theorize about. It gives us something else to think about. A 6'8" shooting guard, 6'8" point guard, super fun to think about, super fun to watch his highlights if you're stressed about the Thunder game. I think because of what he offers as a distraction or something to look forward to in the future, I gave him my rookie of the year. Because
I think it just showed we didn't really play a lot of rookies. And it wasn't going to be Dylan Jones.
Dylan Jones.
Were you going to give it to his booty?
The biggest butt in the NBA, or AJ Mitchell, who played half the season, and I thought it'd be a little different. Try something else out.
No, that's fair. I mean, I don't think there was an obvious answer. I guess I said it's AJ Mitchell based off of those who played,
based off availability.
Yeah. You can honestly, I don't know if he was a true rookie. I'd have to look it up. Carlson played well in spurts too, but
he is a rookie.
Oh yeah, he's played 5 years at Utah. He played well in sports. He did play well in the sport that he plays in spurts. But I just think what AJ Mitchell did before. I know he's Breek's favorite player, being from Belgium. So maybe that's why I lean that way. But it'll be interesting to see if next year your rookie of the year pick is the same individual. Are we going to have a back-to-back rookie of the year?
It might be.
Winner.
Yeah. That's also. I set it up.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
So next, we got two more to do. Most improved player, Chris. Who's yours?
My most improved player is Jalen Williams.
Dub?
Both of them.
Both
of them. Give me 2 for 1. The 2 for 1 special. I think they both have showed it spurts. Specifically, like talking about with Jalen Williams or J-Dub, is that he has shown an eliteness in defense, and I think that's even stepped up from last year. And I think his ability to score has really taken a jump. I know you think he hasn't really improved as much as I have, but I think
he's improved, but I don't think he didn't improve his scoring by 5 or 7 points.
I think he did. I think it wasn't that the amount of points. His ability to score, I think, really improved. Where he's getting his spots, he's able to choose. I think his scoring has really improved. And then Jalen Williams, all-time teammate,
up for teammate of the year,
and then has stepped up in multiple games and got triple doubles, and his passing's been really good. And even in games that he's not the lead facilitator, he's hit really timely threes. He's been out there and
his shooting's been
much more impactful than he was last year. And I think that has to do with Isaiah Hartenstein, him learning from Isaiah Hartenstein, and kind of feeding into what that role could be for him. So I like them both as my most improved player.
With J. Will, obviously 2 years ago in the plan, we knew Chet was coming back and he was the starting center. So that was you were like, oh, he'll be a good second backup center. And then last year in the playoffs, the difference between when Chet was on the floor and when we took him off, and not just him, but just when we went small,
right,
was tough. And it's one of the main reasons we lost to the Mavs last year. Having J. Will as your third center is awesome.
It's so great.
He brings the energy, which is what you want, because that's those end of the bench guys. It's hey, you have to be an energizer bunny when you go out there because you're the third guy for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes out there, he can hit threes. If he keeps shooting like he has, he's going to play a good chunk in the playoffs, which is not something I thought of even 3 or 4 months ago.
Right.
But he's been a lot of fun to watch, especially this back half of the year. Because people forget he missed the first 2.5 months too with a hamstring strain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I respect the double pick.
Yeah, appreciate it.
My most improved player, and for his sake, I'm bummed for him. For the Thunder's sake, I couldn't be more excited, is Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I say that because
The obvious choice.
Obviously, it's low-hanging fruit. But we got to talk about him. He earned it.
I agree.
He saved basketball. But I say what I said because for his sake, he wishes he had this season last year before his contract came up and he signed his extension.
He
for
might
the
be
Thunder's
$100
sake,
million man.
At this point, yeah, with how much other teams want Thunder players,
right.
He for the Thunder. I mean, he's on his salary goes down each year.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single year, he becomes more and more valuable, which is so rare to say with NBA contracts these days. But what he's done for being able to provide another wing who can score off of the bench, I think he's still a little streaky. But I mean, he's your fourth or fifth guard. You know, it's not like you're asking him to go win a playoff game. You want him to help your star win a playoff game. But it's not like his shooting has been so good. He's upped his number of attempts per game. His percentage is technically down, but you're much more of a threat if you shoot 6 threes at 39% than 2 threes at 45. Because you have to guard you. If you're shooting 2 threes a game, they're like, I don't even care if he hits one. But if you're shooting 5 or 6, you're going to have those nights where you go 8 for 10 and drop 40 points. But then even the nights where you go 1 of 4, they're going to guard all 4 of them.
It's all about spacing.
And so that aspect, and it's crazy to think that I'm talking about him like this and not Isaiah Joe, because Joe does that too. I don't think he's quite as diverse in terms of generating shots at the rim. Wiggins' finishing has been insane. There's been so many times where around the rim, he's doing a wraparound, a 7-footer or over a guy where he wasn't doing that the last year. And sure as heck,
deep into the shot clock sometimes too.
Yeah. And Shay's like, Wiggs, here's the ball. Go get it. Which is another reason why I think he's a major X factor. If he can score like that in the playoffs. But yeah, I know we just eclipsed the hour mark, so we're trying to get you guys out some, a little playoff preview pod.
It's a playoff bonanza pod.
Yeah. But lastly, Chris, before we get out of here, I don't even know if it necessarily has to be a player, but maybe a moment or a stretch or whatever. What is your biggest surprise of the year?
Well, I had AJ Mitchell written down just because he was a second round guy who really showed out and was pretty impactful for us for a long time. But I think, that stretch in January when we played the Celtics and the Cavaliers and the Knicks, that was such a critical stretch where they were playing playoff-like basketball and playoff-like atmospheres and winning those games that it just feels. And that was such a fun time to watch games. Just be like, this is going to be a really fun game. Like the Knicks game, when
it was a taste of playoff basketball in January.
When Aaron Wiggins hit those 4 threes in 2 minutes and versus the Knicks, that was crazy. And then even the Cavaliers game we lost, it was a close game. We lost it, and then blowing them out a week later, it felt awesome. So you're that stretch of basketball
without a 7-footer
was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, that was whenever you were like, this team is not just great. They're you could say some stuff and it not sound so far-fetched.
So crazy
after that stretch,
right?
Yeah, that January stretch, that was right around where we started the pod, and it was this is fun. It's man, we have so much content to talk about because they were playing the top teams in the East and winning exciting games, and other players were stepping up. And then you got towards the end of the season, it's so do you want to talk about Jay Will?
I love talking about Jay Will.
I know, but I'm saying hey, we sat 7 guys against the Pelicans. What do you want to talk? But it's funny I say that. My segue into my biggest surprise was maybe not just a game, but how much I loved the games that we sat everyone.
Yes.
because I think, we'll probably do a recap of our favorite games of this year, a list or a ranking of some point. On that list, I can already tell you one game, and it is the Portland
Blazers game.
on a Friday night where we sat everyone. It was the game that the Thunder actually got investigated for sitting players. Right before, I think it was the Denver doubleheader in Oklahoma City on the Monday. That was the game. Wiggs had like 30. Jay Will had a triple-double. It was his first career triple-double. That place was so much fun that night. We talked about it. The players on the bench were going crazy. For those guys, like, you just felt like this is Thunder basketball. And it was like, we talked about it was a program win because everybody from top to bottom can go in and play Thunder basketball and play winning basketball. I remember going into that game and kind of felt bad because our uncle came up and bought a couple of my tickets, and we didn't know everybody was sitting first. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Like, heck, if I had sold them online, they'd probably go for $4.
Yeah. Well, my dad, that was the game that I gave my dad for Christmas. Like, I gave him like, come sit with me for a game. And I bought him a shirt. I bought him one of those big dog t-shirts that Down to Dunk made. And we sat there and watched a game. And I told him sorry too. I was like, Dad, this stinks. I'm sorry.
Merry Christmas.
Nobody's playing Merry Christmas. So,
but then it ended up like we met up in between at halftime, and it was like, this is awesome. And Portland was like kind of in the hunt at that point. Like, then you had that game. They did the same thing against the 76ers. Chet played in that game because they were kind of bringing him back from injury. But it was like, man, even when, like, I love watching Shea play basketball. Shockingly enough, I love watching the MVP of the league play basketball. But you take him off the court, Dub didn't play. I mean, you didn't have Hartenstein, whatever. Watching Aaron Wiggins, like, go and average like 28 a game in those games that they weren't playing. Cheering for Adam Flagler to make a 3. I mean, it was just such a fun regular season. And I think one thing that I hope isn't too lost in the want to get to the playoffs to try to win a championship for a team that is favored to do so is just how fun that regular season was. Like, it was just a blast.
The whole regular season was so fun. And to my surprise, it wasn't as stressful as I thought it would be. It wasn't as packed with expectations as I thought it was going to be. I don't
know if Chet getting hurt helped that.
I think it did. I think it immediately was like, all right, well, Chet's not going to play. Let's go see if we actually, see how good we can be without him. And I mean, it was, especially, and the whole season just felt fun and not stressful. And there's been talk, when you win the West and when you go to the playoffs and then you bring essentially the whole team back, it starts this era of expectations and this
high pressure basketball all the time.
Basketball for the next X amount of years. But this team really, it never felt like high pressure. I mean, it felt like high pressure basketball, but it was fun the whole time, which was just such a nice.
It was the polar opposite of like Westbrook's last couple of years, where it was like every game was like, we have to win. If we don't win, we might not make the playoffs. If we lose this game, we'll fall from the 4 to the 7 seed and have to play the Warriors. Or you were holding on to everything in that. And this year it was like, you know what? I'm gonna show up to Paycom or watch on TV, and it's gonna be worth the watch.
Competitive.
There were very few games that you watched. I mean, the Lakers game was one of them, but there was maybe 1 or 2 games where it was like, I'm not having a good time.
The Warriors, the Wolves game.
Yeah, but not until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was having a good time.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest surprise to me wrapping that up is that it wasn't just Shea and Dub and Chet and even Hartenstein. It was, I loved watching this team play, like even when those starters were out. But yeah, well, there you have it. There's your inaugural 2025 Ball Talk
Bonanza
Thunder Awards playoff preview. One thing I did want to mention before we got out of here, Chris, at the All-Star break, we predicted what the Thunder's record was going to be for the remaining 28 games.
Did you write it down?
I did, or I remember it.
Okay.
Do you remember at all what you said?
No, I don't. What did I say?
You said they were going to go 20-8 after the All-Star break. And your logic was they're going to be implementing Chet. They're not going to care as much about winning because they had such a long or a big lead in the West, which is all very logical. I said I was like, no, I think they're going to be good because one of your pieces of logic was they went 20-8 the year before. You thought that you just kept it the same.
Sure.
I went with 23-5. I was like, you know what? I think they're going to, I just think it's such a good team. I even when I said it, I remember being like, I'm stretching it a little bit, but screw it. We're on a podcast. They went 24-4.
Which is incredible.
Insane. We both were wrong.
That's nice to say. I will say, I do remember one prediction that you made. You made that after they lost the 16 game win streak, you said this wouldn't be their last double-digit win streak. And it happened the last week of the season. I was like, oh yeah, man,
That's a win.
Way to
That's
go.
a win.
Mark that down for Bino. I'll give you the win on the schedule too. That's a good get.
There
Only
also
one
were
game.
several times throughout this season. I remember whenever we lost Chet and to the hip injury, and we had lost to the Spurs and the Mavs. And the teams that we were playing next were the Kings and the Blazers and some teams with size. And I was like, we might lose 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was so freaked out about that. I remember after Chet got hurt, I think we both said, we didn't have the podcast at the time, Shea has to go win MVP.
And he did.
Here we are. Here we are. I mean, just several times throughout the year where it was like, oh, this is going to go poorly. And then the Thunder were like, nah, we're going to go win in Boston without Dub on after a 2-game series against the Nuggets or whatever. I mean, so many times they were like, you know what? We're just going to go win regardless of context. And it just made it fun.
That's what good teams do. And that's what makes me really hopeful for the playoffs. They just go win.
Yeah. But yeah, we didn't touch on the East side mainly because it almost feels too important to get through the West before worrying about the East.
Yeah,
Chris, do you have anyone else before we go? Is it anyone other than Boston?
I'm looking at it now. No, it is not. Well, Cavs. I think Cavs could make it interesting. I think I
just want to see that Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I think awesome.
That's going to be the best side for the Eastern Conference. If somehow the Bucks and the Celtics play, it's not going to be as good. I want to see the Cavs.
And then the Cavs immediately become the prototypical regular season team,
right?
Where you don't perform in the playoffs.
The Thunder don't do that.
But that's not going to happen. Last take on the Eastern Conference. Watch out for that Knicks-Pistons series. I think that's going to be a much tougher series than the Knicks might think.
Oh, I think there's going to be punches thrown and ejections.
Isaiah Stewart is going to beef stew somebody on the court.
Yeah, that's what they call him. They call him Beef Stew. What a name. What a nickname for an NBA player.
But yeah. Well, there you have it. There's your playoff preview. We're still working on timing and everything with the play-in and things like that, but we'll get content out to you as soon as we can. Appreciate everybody for listening. It's been a great second half of the regular season, and we're just excited to take y'all through the playoffs. So appreciate everybody, and we will talk to you again later this week. See ya.
See ya.